Welcome back. This is our second episode of the Volusia County Uncovered podcast. My name is Sarah Donnelly, and I'm joined with Lori Becker.
How you doing tonight, Sarah?
Doing good. We've got Bike Week in town. Hope everybody's enjoying the nice weather that we have and staying safe out there on those streets.
Sure is a distraction from what we've been dealing with the last week.
We have a lot that happened in the last week since we've filmed our first episode.
Yeah, we've uncovered, haven't we, Sarah? Right, you want to talk about that Facebook post that the city of Port Orange put out? Wow. Okay, here we go. Our city leaders recently met with state legislatures to discuss the projects that we were talking about last week, about the Cambridge Basin, breaching, levee, flooding, homes, and also the Pepper Hill situation as well. So there apparently is funding and grants that are going to accelerate this critical stormwater utility improvements. So the first one, right, Cambridge, that's the one that everyone's been talking about because it's been in play for 2 years now. We finally got the U.S. Army Corps of Engineering on board. And they're going to enhance the pump efficiency during high tides, strengthen the structure for future storms, and hopefully these upgrades are expected to provide critical funding relief for residents in the Cambridge Basin neighborhood.
And this is big news to residents here. We've been waiting for updates on the Cambridge Canal improvements, and this week we finally received them.
There's always this unfortunate situation of a timeline, okay? And so we do have somebody who lives in the woods off of Spruce Creek that's been very proactive in trying to keep this plan moving along. And apparently the timeline is just not working out. Like it was supposed to be started sometime in spring of 25. And now the new local funding initiative says that it's going to start in 26, and then it's going to take 2 years. So these folks that live in the woods are now literally in the woods because they're going to be, underwater again, okay? Because they're a long way out. They're years out now from any kind of substantial structure that's going to hold that water back in Rose Bay and keep those houses from flooding.
Yes, those homes in the Cambridge Basin heavily rely on the Cambridge pump station.
Right. So I'm not quite sure of the number of homes that were affected in there, but the bottom line is we're behind the curve on the funding for that. And now we're looking at 2 more hurricane seasons that these folks are going to have to live through. If in fact we get flooded again, I mean, hopefully they're putting more sandbags up because that's all they can do right now. So,
and the despairing part about that is that residents were told that hopefully they would only have to go through one more storm until the project was completed. And now we're finding out that we're more or less 2 years pushed back.
Right. And so, one of the problems with that is that there's a lot of people in those communities that depended on SBA loans, the small business loans, to help get them through, extra money they needed. They didn't get enough insurance money, so they needed out-of-pocket expenses covered. So they filed for these SBA loans through FEMA. Well, those SBA loans, you have to repair and stay in your home for 5 years. So that means that impending doom of possibly another flood, like 3 and 5. I mean, come on. That is the potential of what can happen to these people is 3 substantial floodings in 5 years. If it happens, that's all hypothetical. I get that. But that is the pain and the suffering that these residents are dealing with. Is waiting for the city to get the funding and the state to give the city the funding to build this new levee.
It's really important, I think, that the city stays on top of the Cambridge Canal.
All right. So I just, I kind of want to let people know that there are folks out there that have been emailing the city officials, city engineers, community development engineers, and whatnot. So, there are other people out there trying, to help in our, endeavors to uncover, problems. And so it's important that the permitting and everything regarding this Cambridge Basin stays on track and that they give us all the right information. If they say that it's most likely going to happen, in the spring, I can understand maybe a season, maybe two, but not a whole year.
The problem is the lack of transparency among the city. Residents truly don't know where these projects stand. And at the end of the day, that's really what they want to know.
Right. And so that's why we're here, right?
Absolutely.
Hopefully people are listening and, they realize that we got to get it together. We're not getting enough information out of City Hall or the county. I'm sorry, but a little Facebook post, from City Hall every now and then is not reaching enough people. So there's an awful lot of feedback on Facebook, but it's among the community. It's not really coming from City Hall. Do you have to attend city commission meetings? Yes. That is your responsibility if you want to know more of what's going on in the city. But that's just not always possible. So, I'm really glad to be with you here and to be able to share some of this, new information that we have.
Thanks, Lori. I'm happy to be here with you too.
What is this about this LMS? You've been talking about this local mitigation strategy, and I have some idea of it. I did attend 2 meetings of it last year, but we're still in the 2020 phase on that, right? Like we're still working off of the 2020 plan?
And that's because that's our most recent plan that the county has put together. These LMS plans, they must be updated every 5 years to keep them in compliance with FEMA funding. The LMS is a comprehensive plan among cities that assesses risks and vulnerabilities and then tries to mitigate those hazards. That's where we get that term hazard mitigation from.
Right.
It's important that the city be transparent with its residents because residents need to be able to create their own mitigation plan at the home level.
Right.
And without the transparency coming from commissioners, it's hard for the people living in our community to come up with their own mitigation plan. The local mitigation strategy, it encompasses the stormwater master plan that directly focuses on the projects, the infrastructure, and the flood control. So the LMS outlines that flooding is a very high risk in Volusia County, and then they create a stormwater master plan that focuses on the specific projects to control the hazard.
And that's, and they have to do this to be able to get funding, to be able to keep the insurance costs down. It's all about understanding.
Yeah, the LMS includes a lot more than just flooding.
What is it?
It's got wind, fire,
tornadoes.
Right.
But there is a big focus on flood, obviously. That is, what we've been dealing with.
Well, according to the LMS, it is the most frequent and costly natural disaster in the United States. And on the smaller level in the city of Port Orange, as I stated, it is considered a high risk for the city.
Right. And so weren't there some projects that were identified?
So there have been several projects that have been initiated.
And these went as far back as 2016, right? I mean,
they did, and that's because, again, we're operating under the 2020 LMS.
Right.
We had some meetings a few months ago regarding the updated 2025 LMS that is to come out that will, again, keep the city eligible to receive certain fundings.
Right. And so out of the 2020, the projects were Cambridge, there we go, with construction planned for mid-2025, which we know that's probably not going to happen. The White Place and the Riverside Drive drainage improvements, Tumblebrook Drive, Southwind's stormwater pond outfall retrofit, This was from 2020.
Yeah, so we did
5 years ago.
That's correct. In the mitigation action plan, the White Place and Riverside Drive drainage improvements, Tumblebrook Drive storm improvements, and Southwind Stormwater Pond, those were all marked to be completed in December of 2016.
Right.
So I'm not sure where the holdup is or why we're still underway for those projects.
It's taken way too long.
Absolutely.
If these projects would have been done back in 2020, we had Ian in 2022 and Milton in 2024. So the entire stormwater master plan was going to take 8 to 10 years. The whole thing, all of the money.
So then that means that we won't be seeing that until the 2030 LMS comes out.
I know, right? But today he told me, because phase 2 was going to be putting a pump in at Sugar Grove Court, phase 2 could take 8 to 10 years. So he said that again. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Pepper Hill Madeline Pond. That's a big topic right now for the Sugar Forest area over in Port Orange. That is going to be comprised of 8,000 feet of closed pipe. That's 1.5 miles of piping. All right, so they did some sort of a study on the pond, and the pond wasn't going to be enough. They needed to be able to direct that water towards the Halifax River, so they've incorporated into the plan now 8,000 feet of enclosed pipe. So that is going to be a huge project that is now, this is another one I'm going to tell you, that is behind by a year. All right. So at the October meeting, the city manager said that we would be starting to dig the hole for the Pepper Hill Pond to help relieve some of the flooding in Sugar Forest. Well, now it's looking like we're going to be starting in February of 2026.
This is still, the project itself is great news. It's a solution that we've been waiting to see in the city. We need that 8,000 feet of closed stormwater pipe that will direct east into the Halifax River and dump that stormwater into that larger body of water.
Yes, they seem to think that it's going to take some of the pressure off of the Nova Canal as well. And so that water that comes in from Nova Canal will eventually fall off into this particular pond. And then it's into the closed system that will flow. The corridor for that is going to be Madeline, take a turn on McDonald, go down Charles Street, go under the tracks, and then eventually get all the way to US 1 to the new Bristol Apartments at Riverwalk in Port Orange. So that is definitely going to take some time, some money and time. And so the estimated start date of construction for this particular Florida Senate Local Funding Initiative request is supposed to be February 2026. And then the estimated completion date for this construction is August 2027. So here we are. We're definitely going to be going through 2 or 3 more hurricane seasons with the possibility of flooding in this particular neighborhood. Yeah. So, the thing that really bothers me when I saw this particular paperwork, this particular date of request, 2/6/25. All right. This was just a couple of weeks ago. Now, I don't understand this because the city manager said this was going to be started in spring of 2025, but yet I see a date of request, 2/6/2025. So I'm a little confused about that. I think that's something I'm going to have to talk to, bring up at the city commission meeting tomorrow night because, people want to know. People were expecting that pond to be dug like now. Just like they wanted Cambridge Basin fixed now.
Those were the top 2 projects I think residents were closely watching, waiting to see when these projects would begin.
Right.
Now it's disheartening to find out that these projects are a year or 2 behind, putting us more susceptible to
flooding. It's just more flooding. And I can't, if I get one more personally, if I get one more flood, that's 3 and 5. And 300 letters went out, by the way. 300 letters went out to go over the substantial flooding 3 times in 5 or 3 in 10 years, and that eventually the city is going to want to acquire your property. FEMA says we're going to take your property. And so the city has to start working on that with a lot of, homeowners. They're taking 3 properties in Sugar Forest that I know of for sure. So it's just one thing after another they're constantly chasing their tail, reacting to what's been happening as far as, these hurricanes and flooding. I want to see more proactive. We need to be more proactive on this. Like this shouldn't have been going on this long. So yeah, if you really want to talk more about the houses that the city has been taking. All right. So right now in the state of Florida, there's been 3,100 applications to the Elevate Florida program. 3,100 people have said, "Take it, take my home, and go ahead and lift it." That's their choice. You only get 3 choices here. Okay, you either can elevate the home, you can have them acquire, meaning take it, buy it out, and make it, just take it down to the ground, or you can reconstruct it, which means take it down to the foundation and rebuild it. So right now, 3,100 applications in the state of Florida, but here's the sad number. Only 147 in Volusia County. That's where we're falling short.
We need more participation.
We really do. And so I've been talking to Valerie at Community Development Engineering in Port Orange, and she is very grateful that we are trying to help get this information out and educate people to mitigate. Okay, this is part of the LMS strategy. This is in order to, get people out of water, we've got to raise the homes, take the homes, or rebuild the homes. So right now that's where we said 147 applications, and this program runs out in July.
That's not enough.
It runs out in July. So it runs out, or the money runs out first. It's one or the other. I just got that information today, by the way.
Or the homeowners don't have the money to elevate their properties.
Right. And so the eligibility requirements on that is an elevation certificate, and you're going to be stuck paying 25% of the build. So they're not going to give it to you. You have to pay 25% of the build, 25% of your property value. You have to come out of pocket with. Now, for people that own a $400,000 house, that's $100,000. Okay? That's 25% that I would have to pay to keep my house from flooding. So, no, people don't have that. It might sound like a lot of money to own a $400,000 house, but to still come out of pocket with $100,000 it's not doable. And I don't care how many grants they say are out there to help you with this. You're not going to meet the eligibility requirements financially because you make too much money because you own a $400,000 house. There's also Transform 386. That's only for a 1,200 square foot home, a house that's probably worth about $250,000. Maybe that person would be eligible for a grant and could get that house lifted. So it's still an ongoing program. They're still working through all of the problems. But right now, 147 applications is ridiculous when you think about how many homes flooded in the last 2 storms. So people either don't know about this program, or they just can't qualify, or they just don't have the money to even be eligible. So that's the situation that most of the flooded residents in Volusia County are in right now. So that's the update on that. 3,100 homes in the state, 147 in Volusia County. And we're one of the highest, we're like rated number 7th county. The top 10, we're rated 7th for flooding in the state of Florida. So that's ridiculous to only have not even 150 applications.
It is.
So we got a lot of work to do still. to get this word out. Because I support this program. At least they're trying to do something.
I see that they are trying to help. I just don't know how people can afford it.
Right. I mean, I know what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to see the stormwater master plan come to fruition. I mean, it needs to be happening so that we're not flooding anymore. So we're just constantly behind the curve on this.
That is my argument. There's millions of dollars of damage that happens to homeowners when hurricanes hit.
Every year. We had 2 come back to back last year. That's why this is all happening. That's why they've got to go up to Tallahassee and have, appropriation committee, talks. And
I'm interested to attend tomorrow night's city council meeting and see what topics get brought up and how heavy they dive into stormwater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they haven't really been talking about it much. So I got an email from the assistant city manager, and she answered my question on Click It, Fix It. I was very happy about that. I was like, wow, I actually get a response. So, and she told me about these new Pepper Hill plans that are coming, and that she's briefing all the commissioners this week, big meeting. So when we get into that, city council chambers, we should expect them to be, just roaring from the podium about this grand plan they have right now. Because, we've been waiting, right? We've been waiting. Roll it out. Let's roll it out. So I'm very excited about how they're going to present it. Yeah, you know what? There's one more area I'd like to talk about. So one of the things that I really wanted to at least touch today is the humanistic side of all of this. Okay, so the podcast, episode 1, brought a lot of attention to the subject in this area.
And we are so grateful that it did.
Yeah, and so people, they've been posting on Facebook to the podcast. And so I noticed there were a couple there that were just like screaming for more. They wanted to talk about it more. They were emotionally affected by it all. So I decided to go ahead and, private message them and have some personal conversations with them. And in that process, I found more people in the Sugar Forest area. And I've made a few more friends. And today I actually had a gal come over because she's like stuck in this, I don't know what to do next, situation. She's a single woman. She's put all her eggs in one basket into the home that she lives in, terribly flooded twice. And so I said, well, why don't you come over and see what I've done? So I invited her to come over, and I showed her, I bought this Dam Easy thing that I use to keep the water from coming in the sliding glass door in the back. And then I paid $2,500 for a French drain. We had dirt brought in. I'm trying to keep the water from the ditch coming into my property. I mean, I'm really working it. I'm really trying to do what the city ultimately wants me to do, take responsibility for my own property. All right? So even though I'm still screaming for you to come clean my ditch, I'm doing my best because I know that it's probably not going to happen. In fact, Juno told me today from engineering, no, cleaning out that ditch is not going to do anything. That is slow creeping water and nothing's really going to change. And I'm like, really? Like I have like a tree that's 3 feet in diameter literally blocking the ditch. And you don't think that that's going to help? That's going to stop the water from flowing? So it's a losing battle, really. It's just a losing battle. So this gal came over and I showed her all my little projects and how I bumped up my furniture and I put Tupperware, underneath the legs of my dining room table and all this like silly stuff. Okay. But you know what? She walked away feeling empowered. She walked away feeling, I got this. I'm going to do this. She made a decision that she was going to stay and play. And she wasn't going to run and hide. And so, if anything, I feel like she heard our podcast, she reached out, and I was able to give her some of my knowledge and be able to give her some peace of mind. Because I don't even like to use the word P ending with D, but, she's got some of that going on. And she's got some of that going on. And so I felt like if I could help her get through some of this emotional stuff, that that, we're doing the right thing here. So let's just keep plugging away and helping some of the local residents that just need a little help, guidance, someone just to talk to. And so we got 2 people showing up tomorrow for the city commission meeting that have prepared, to talk. First time ever they've done that. So
that's a big deal.
Yeah, we're going to keep them on their toes.
We want to keep encouraging residents to show up and prepare their 3-minute speech for city commissioners. It's important for the reasons that you just listed. They need to know the human element, the toll that this truly takes on the people.
Right. I mean, it's not just about, all the money that you're going to be working on to keep us from flooding again. It's about the human side of this.
People want to help themselves and they want to help the community. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The city needs a clear mitigation program that's transparent.
Mm-hmm. And proactive
so that residents can create their own mitigation plan.
Right.
I feel that's what you were just really saying.
Yep. I've had to create my own mitigation plan, and more people are going to have to do that. And it's unfortunate, but we're going to have to. And so if we can reach out into whatever city you live in, and we can create some sort of we got a Facebook page now, right?
We do, yeah.
We got a Facebook page.
We do. Volusia County Uncovered.
That's it.
We'll be posting updates on everything to do with the city, with the stormwater. We're really going to use it as our home base, so we would really love if you'd follow us along.
I think we got like 30 hits on it already today.
We did. People are hearing about it, and that's a great thing because we are here to provide information to them. Yep. So that's the best way to get it is to go on our Facebook page, Volusia County Uncovered. Give us a follow.
Yeah, and post comments on there that we can work with,
and show up to these meetings as well. Go on the city website, find out when the city council meetings are. This month we have tomorrow, March 4th, is the city council meeting.
It's 6:30.
It's 6:30, but please show up and come and listen and hear. It's a great way to involve yourself, and it's a great way to understand some of the approaches that the city is taking and ways that you can mitigate.
Yeah, you have to be empowered to take care of things on your own. The things that you can do on your own, but let's just hope that.
And some of those things do require a lot of money, like you put in a very nice French drain in your house.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Sarah, it's been good chatting again, and let's see what the city commission brings up for us to talk about next time.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lori, for joining me tonight. And on our next episode, we will be talking about the city commission meeting.
Yep. Look forward to it tomorrow night.
Me too.
At 6:30. So we'll bring that to you on episode 3. Have a good night, everyone.